Huh? Where am I?
What is the Ukraine?
A country in Europe?
What is the Ukraine?
Part of Russia.
Good. Now what is the Georgia?
State in America? Bro, wait. In today's video, we'll be looking at three scenarios. The first one is the Russian victory, the second one is the tie between the two, and the third one is the Ukrainian victory.
За Россию! За победу! Ура!
So, for those who don't know, the war basically started when the leader of the country invaded their evil neighbor because of the persecution of his peoples, and allying with outside powers to destroy his country.
Oh, this was Hitler's justification in World War II, sorry, my bad. This should be it.
Okay, so, the special military intervention started when the leader of the country invaded their evil neighbor because of the persecution of his peoples, and allying with outside powers to destroy his country. Ahem. Imagine a scenario where Putin successfully captures Kyiv with such swiftness that both the West and Zelensky are left without time to formulate a response or rally the Ukrainian people. The entire nation is demoralized, with masses fleeing to Europe. Russia emerges as an undeniable force, instilling fear in NATO and raising concerns about future Russian invasions. Putin is now revered by the country, and his grip on Russia is stronger than it already was. So what happens with Ukraine now? Most likely Russia will take everything east of the Dnieper and the oblasts that have coastlines. The rest of Ukraine is now turned into a puppet state, just like Belarus, Russia finally managing to create a buffer zone between them and NATO. The annexation of these parts of Ukraine makes them extremely dominant in the Black Sea and also makes them very rich, not only in natural resources such as gas and petrol, but also arable land. Russia now becomes a very valuable trade partner with them, becoming the breadbasket of Europe. This could also be the staging ground for another invasion into Moldova, to establish another puppet regime there as well. All in all, with the success in the European front, the former Soviet republics such as Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and other would probably bend the knee to Russia and slowly allow foreign influence to take over their countries. This way, the former Russian Empire is now once again a powerful figure in the world.
So, how would a supposed tie between Russia and Ukraine look like? Well, we don't have to look that far because we already have that. Kind of. The Russian and Ukrainian militaries are essentially in a tie by some time now. So it's not that far-fetched to say that if the conflict lasts a few years longer and the borders still don't change, a ceasefire would be signed between the two parties. So what does that mean for Ukraine and the world?
Firstly, no Ukraine joining the EU or NATO. Since the threat of Russian invasion is ever looming, nobody knows when Putin might attack again. The people on both sides are distraught at the losses they suffered, just for nobody to win anything. Ukrainians will feel like a sacrificial lamb between the West and Russia, and Russians would feel like pawns in a country that doesn't care about them. With Putin achieving a semi-victory by capturing a few parts of Ukraine, he will manage to stay in power for longer. The damages that Russia suffered, both economic and on the death toll of young people that died in the war, will profoundly affect its future as a world power. With Russia being weakened by the conflict in Ukraine, we could slowly see Chinese influence being more and more present inside Russia, with a lot of natural resources in Siberia being sold off to China, and Russia becoming China's dominion. Now, I know there are a lot of ways to make Ukraine win this conflict, but let's go with a more simpler one. Every NATO power at the start of the war sends foreign aid at a rate it has never been seen since World War II. I am talking tanks, planes, rockets, officers for training NATO doctrine, the whole package. Billions and billions of dollars from the start of the war. If brought to the front at the peak of Russian incompetency at the start of the war, it is already over for Putin. He would try to scare the West like he did in our world, with empty threats about the nuclear bombs, but he won't do it. Ukraine not only manages to stop the Russian attacks around the country and encircle them, but also make a surprise attack into Crimea. The Donbass would be harder to take due to the years of building fortifications, trenches by the Russian troops, but they would inevitably fall after Ukraine would concentrate its entire firepower on the region, now that it is being aided by Western weapons and ammunitions. Ukraine wins the war, and not only that, but now that it has demonstrated its strength and dealt a definitive strike to the Russian nation, it officially joins the European Union, and NATO becoming one of its most prominent members as the country who defeated Russia. The future is indeed bright for Ukraine and the West, but on the other side, Russia is a completely different story. The government is in shambles with Putin's oligarchs looking for someone to replace him. Riots on all the streets in Russia, with people demanding that the current government be dissolved. It is not only that, but the leader of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has stated that the failure of the invasion of Ukraine is just because of the Russian high command and started a march to Moscow. Now all hell would break loose as various Russian generals would turn either against the government and help Wagner or try to defend the current regime. A new Russian revolution has begun, and all eyes are on Russia right now.